Hello and welcome to today's episode, which happens to be an interview with the History Goer. Hi, History Goer.
Hello.
And what's the topic of conversation that you would like to introduce today?
I would like to talk about our bizarre experience when we went to Brean last weekend.
By Brean, you mean Brean Theme Park. And what was the journey like on the way down there?
The journey itself was actually better than the whole experience I would say we spent at the park, but obviously we'll go into that later in the video.
So from my experiences, it was a lot of greenery around Brean and somewhat a holiday resort as we arrived. And what was your first impressions of arrival into Brean?
Typical seaside English town. Obviously, you've got your all small little independent caravan parks, and you've got the big one, which I believe was called Unity, which took over from Pontins. But what was the massive eyesore was Brean, if I remember correctly, the UK's largest free, and literally big bold letters FREE everywhere you could see, UK's largest free theme park. Yes, it was free, but there was hardly anything to do.
So yeah, basically I went along with Jay that day, Jay being the History Goer, and we went to park and the parking machine only accepted cash, but they weren't working. But however, there was a notice to say that if you come in, you can't stop. So if you stop and park, you have to pay. So ultimately I phoned up, couldn't get through on the phoning up line. And then I ended up doing an online ticket, and there wasn't any hour or 2 hours availability like there was in the car park for paying with money. I ended up paying a full day ticket. Anyway, what was your experience from going to the car park into Brean Theme Park?
Car park right opposite the park itself. Good location, central location. Again, with it not, there was no sign saying card only. It was like the machines were purposefully damaged to make you have to go online and pay for the ticket. And even multiple times you got frustrated, and I could see you trying not to get upset because there were families around, and that was very, very commendable of you. Plenty of space, I'll give them that. Do you remember how much the ticket was for the all day?
So we looked at the all day tickets, and I think for the Saturday that we were down there, it was £32.
That was admission to Brean Theme Park, correct?
That was admission to Brean Theme Park, and there was the option of also having a carer's ticket for free, providing that we had the carer's credentials. But that wasn't how things went. Anyway,
could I just interrupt you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, the carer had to pay £10, so you would still the rate of £30 or £32. But a carer still had to pay to get in.
Yeah. So
that's what I thought, honestly, was one of the main things that disgusted me. So you're already paying a decent chunk of money, and then you're expected to pay more for someone who you need there to support you. You being the support for me on the day.
So, what were your expectations from paying £32? Were you expecting to see some sort of rare exhibitions? Or were you expecting like a really thrilling theme park? Because I remember last year you could get a pre-booked ticket for Fort Park for roughly 36 or 38 quid. So if you're thinking 32 quid for what's gonna be a smaller park at the seaside, what was your expectations of Brean?
First thing when we went into the theme park, before I even thought about buying a ticket, was the sickly green paint that they had put on the concrete to look like grass. Everywhere you looked, there was patches of grey coming through. And yes, it was meant to look like grass, but it was just looking so sickly. Something that you might see in a PlayStation 1 game, just colour there to fill it so it doesn't look bleak. So as you said, you can go in the theme park for free. So we looked around, there was the Dodgems, there was a mini golf, there was the cars, and we were even going to say, I'll drive in the car, you can do some filming. But when we went to get the ticket, one of the main things that disgusted me was you actually had to pay extra for the mini golf, the Dodgems, and the cars go around the circuit themselves because they were separate. However, it's still within the theme park premises. There isn't a separate bit. It's all part of the same plot of land.
Absolutely.
And we were expected to pay extra per time we went around. We go around the golf once. That's one lot of tokens. What was it? Credits, I think, was their value of?
I think so.
One round of credits for mini golf, crazy golf. We want to do it again. Another round of credits. Dodgems, same. Race, Dodgems, cars, whatever it was. And that wasn't cheap. That was about £5 or £6 each time to go round.
Yeah. So I kind of know how you're feeling about this park already, but I want to approach you from a slightly different angle. Something that I thought about, something that you might not have thought about. But we'll go back to what you're on about with ride availability soon. But what I want to talk about, Jay, is what do you think the sort of capacity of that park is? Do you think it's somewhere that could hold a lot of people?
Well, there was plenty of space, but even when you go towards the end where they've got, I think it's the Bulldog roller coaster, they had part of this ride. They had plenty of space for storage. However, they had part of this broken ride just placed in the middle. No safety barriers around to stop kids climbing over it. Just what looks like rubbish bags pulled over. I assume like some sort of little rocket coaster going up and down. It was just planted slap in the middle with no safety barriers. Please don't let kids climb. Just planted in the middle like they could not be bothered.
Which was an absolute eyesore. But more to my point, you'll see what I'm on about now, is sort of like, what I'm saying is that the capacity in there is probably the same as a sort of local fun fair.
Yeah, so
right?
Like that,
but when you go
town.
to a local fun fair, even in our hometown being Trowbridge, food availability at my local fun fair, there is a burger van, a chip van, a candy floss van. There's something on every corner.
Yes.
And when I was in Brean,
you went to get an ice cream, didn't you?
There was an ice cream bar with one person serving. There was a churros bar. There was a coffee bar, and there was, I think,
ice lollies,
a burger bar separate from the ice cream van. So there was 4 or 5 huts spread around the park with one person in each of them. And sort of what annoyed me was, like, as we entered the park, it was ragingly hot. And there was like 5 people in the queue with one person serving.
And there was no cover actually for.
And there was no cover whatsoever from the sun. And it really got to me, like, to think that they're charging 32 quid to get into a fun fair, essentially.
An all-day pass.
For an all-day pass. It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And you've got 3.5 hours to do your £32 worth. And you've got to wait in a queue for so long just to get an ice cream. It really got to me that there was very little of food availability in such a capacity. Anyway, that's one of my drawbacks. Let's move on to the fact that you paid 32 quid. And what were you expecting?
Something better than obviously your local theme park. If they're advertising, yeah, it's the UK's biggest free park, yes. The promise being, yes, it's free, biggest being free. But if I'm thinking free, I'm expected to go round, look at all these amazing rides, and then be encouraged. You know what? I'll pay said said amount after I've seen it all. But I felt I was on the fence, and I was like, do you know what? Okay, let's give it a go. But when push came to shove, we'd actually got said band, and we went round. How many of the major things that I wanted to go on were not available?
This is the thing. It's meant to be a free entry park, but there isn't really anything free to do in the park. There's no statues to look at. There's no water features.
No.
Do you want to describe the geography of the place?
How many staff were there in the information desk just sat doing nothing?
I think 4 in total.
About 4. And I'll just cut straight to it. We looked around for about 20 minutes. Most of the major things were closed. Things our age adults want to do. Most of the kids' stuff was open. But waltzers, roller coaster, wave riders, was it the Stratosphere something? The thing inside
No,
the
it was the Sizzler. I think there was a Sizzler.
All of these were closed. And I went to request my money back. And they were like, why do you want your money back? Everything's open. I'm like, no, it's not. That's closed, that's closed, that's closed, that's closed. The majority of the things were closed. And they were reluctant to give the money back. And they said, do you want to speak to a manager? Yes, I do. And even when speaking to said manager, they were still reluctant to give my money back. And when they gave me my money back, they said, oh, we can't do it by card. We have to give you cash. And here's your receipt. And the wristband that they gave me, they actually nearly sliced into my wrist. It's just like the pure frustration. Like, you know what? just get it off and bugger off. That is the sort of interpretation I got from them. Yes, I know it's probably a seasonal job for them, but if they don't enjoy it, don't bloody do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's well known that Brean is a struggling theme park, but to put, just after lunch, when people come back from having their lunch, they close the rides off at 2 p.m. for half an hour. You're not allowed to queue quarter of an hour.
And they've already had their lunch break.
Before they're having their break. So you've got from 1:45 to 2:30, you can't ride. So you've got then another break for them at 4 p.m. So from 2:30 until 4:45, that's an hour and 15 minutes to ride. And then they have another half an hour break until 4:30, and then you get another hour. So essentially that's 2 hours and 15 minutes from 2 o'clock. But they're still selling £32, and that would involve queuing up. And there was a big queue for the Astro coaster. I can't remember.
The inside coaster, yeah.
The inside coaster.
32.
And to think 32 quid. Appreciate it if you went to a big theme park, you'd be paying more. But like the ride availability of what you're getting up there is going to be much more. But obviously there's going to be a bigger queue. But the point is, the ride availability wasn't there. It was closed.
Everything was. Even the Ferris wheel, that was the only thing that was pretty much staffed. But even then, there was one or two people on that.
Yeah.
There was hardly any attention. And I would imagine there would have been some decent views because it was slap bang in the centre of the Brean, let's say, caravan park area. And the right opposite side, you had the seafront, which I imagine gave some lovely views, but with only one or two people going on. And Ferris wheels, with something being, that must cost a lot to run. Why even bother running it if you're only getting one or two people?
So let's look a bit deeper into this. What do you think the root cause is here with Brean Theme Park dying? Are they just charging too much for what they've got? Are they charging high prices because they're financially in a bad position? What do you think? Is there any change for this? Because Brean is clearly a popular tourist destination. It's a beautiful site. What's going wrong, and is it going to change?
Brean, like many areas, like many seaside towns, has that rich tourism history. Go back to the 80s, 70s, maybe even 60s. Like Butlins, that's always been thriving, but then again, they've got the big money backers. That's what Brean don't have, is those big money backers, and they are relying solely on the local tourism. They've got just Brean there by itself. With Butlins, they've got multiple sites stretched, and they've got all these international contracts. Again, Brean being a central location, yes, tourism, but it's also got all the other people competing to get their money, them to spend their money there and not at the theme park itself.
There was a lot of bars, wasn't there?
There was a lot of bars saying, "Oh, free entertainment, come on in, blah blah this, blah blah that." There was a lot of big signs on buildings saying, "Free, available to use, cash point, coming on in." Big pink arrows pointing to the doors. You could not miss it. That is what I even said to you multiple times. And I think you even told me to stop going on. They were big eyesores.
Absolutely. And even we went into the amusements arcade within Brean Theme Park. And I have never seen like 10p's or 2p machines with such poor prizes in them. For instance, I went to Fantasy Island, and Fantasy Island has got a great selection of 2p, 10p machines, arcade machines. And Brean's was, don't get me wrong, the arcade was clean and tidy, but the prices available in the actual machine were poor. And then even when you got tickets, we went over to get tickets, and like a small refresher bar was something like 200 points, and to get 200 points on one of those machines, it's almost an hour's worth of work. And I thought to myself,
6 quid.
It was for me, it's a disgrace. I think Brean is definitely dying, and
oh, totally.
I think they're taking it on the chin. I think they're accepting that they're dying and just trying to rob people as much as they can whilst they're going down.
They're just scraping the bottom of the proverbial barrel, is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
I'm not going to lie, at the same time, the current economy in the UK is not helping as well, with fuel prices going through the roof, rent, rising costs of living, all that. But I'm not going to get into that. We're not a political shadow. You're not a political shadow. You're UK coaster single rider. But again, the economy doesn't help, and they've got to match their prices for this. But yes, when we went into the little arcade that they had as part of Brean, there was probably 4 families in there, and most of the kids were just bored, just looking around. They weren't even engaging with the machines. Waste of electricity. We then go over to somewhere outside of the theme park, same size arcade, about 5 or 10 families in there, kids running about, having two handfuls worth of tickets, waiting to put them in the machines. And you look at the prices. I spent, maybe £3 on the 2p machines. I won a decent pack of size fudge. What was it, about eight pieces of salted caramel fudge?
Really good
and
fudge.
we then walked down and then saw a vendor was selling them. I think it was about £3.70. So I actually made my money back in an arcade opposite, who had a higher paying out, still the same size, more people in though, still offering pretty much the same arcades and amusements things. You're shooting your zombies and all this and that, but we're getting more interaction, and they are just a single sole business opposite and right. And this business didn't have these big signs coming in, free cash, point to use, blah blah. There was no admission fee. There was someone, and that's another thing with Brean. There was no one behind to take your tickets. You had to come at certain times. I believe it was 9 till 12 in the morning, then 4 till 6 in the afternoon.
That's correct.
However, the one we went opposite, there was someone's always there, and there was about maybe 2 or 3 people going around cleaning up the rubbish and helping people if they needed getting tickets jammed or prizes. Again, same size level, more interaction outside. Same prices, interact with the machines, but better prizes.
Yeah, I definitely think they're just taking it on the chin and seeing what they can make on the way down. It'd be interesting to see if anyone invested in it and did something with it, because I think there's space there to do more with the place.
There is.
And it's in a great location. It's a well-visited place, and
it's right next to Unity Beach.
But honestly, like, I didn't pay for a ticket. I was happy for you to enjoy yourself, but I felt that they ripped people off.
There wasn't even a ticket for part of the day. It was still an all-day price. We got there at about 2, because obviously the heavy traffic. We come through Cheddar Gorge. Lovely views. As I say, I probably enjoyed our drive there more than my actual time in said theme park. There was no option for half-day ticket. And then again, we got there at 2. They closed 5-ish. And about half the time that we would have been there, we would have been waiting. But again, half the stuff was closed, so that's why I wanted my money back straight away.
At least that would be a compromise, though. If they offered a half-day ticket from, let's say, 1 or 2 p.m, you would be a lot more understanding of them closing the rides down, because you're paying less. But even when they said, to think we would have paid, if I was your carer, for instance, we would have paid £42.
Yes.
To have that sort of poor ride availability is absolutely disgusting. Because at least if, let's say, for instance, you go into Alton Towers at 2 o'clock, even if you go into Alton Towers at 2 o'clock and pay 38 quid, there is a lot you can do without even going on the rides in Alton Towers. You've got the Sea Life Centre, you've got the tour of the towers. There's a lot of smaller rides that don't have such big queues. There's single rider queues. Even Brean could benefit from something like single ride. It's got the space to do it, to do a single rider queue. And what makes me really disappointed is you've got this classic Pinfari there, the Bulldog coaster, which has clearly been updated and painted recently.
Look lovely.
Not even this year, but recently. And you can see it's been kept up well. And it's just such a shame to see such a classic coaster going to waste in Brean.
Not to mention that they actually had the carts running. Did they have anyone there running it? So
they had the carts running with no one on it.
And it was closed. So are you trying to tease us? Are you doing it purposely to waste electricity? Are you just bored? What is the point in this? And that is one of the main reasons I said that's one of the main things I wanted to do. And this is literally one of their big things. Classic UK coaster, loops and everything. I don't know the terminology, so I'll leave that to you. But I even said to you, let's go to that. It's the first thing I said to you. What was the first thing as soon as we got there? Closed.
Yeah, Pinfari shuttle coaster.
Very disappointing, very. My recommendation, not worth the price of admission.
Not worth the price, absolutely.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. It's just the pure frustration. But thank you for letting me get it out today, sitting down and talking with you.
That's good. Have you got any other points that you want to point out to the audience?
If you want to go down for Brean, make sure to look at other things. Don't just solely rely to go to Brean and spend £32 for an all-day pass. There is there is not the value there for money. Look at going to the little arcades around, supporting the local little businesses as well, I'd say. That all-day ticket, you can do that in less than a full day. You could probably do it within maybe 2 hours. And Brean has got all those other little individual allotments, places to look around, and again, a beautiful, gorgeous seafront. There was more people actually on the beach than actually along that we saw walking. If you want to go to Brean, fair enough, but you can do everything there within 2 hours. So be prepared to possibly look at doing other things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're going to Brean with the intention of going to the theme park as a family and you pay 32 quid each, there's 4 of you, that's over 100 quid. And it's not worth that.
No.
It's not even worth 32 quid for 4 people.
It's not even worth £32 for one person. But then again, I digress.
And that's us finished for today, folks. Ciao for now.